Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. I decided to do a new ornament design today and I end up taking it in just different directions. I started out cutting out some shapes from cardboard, and I used the kind of cardboard that maybe a cereal box is, except that after I cut them out, I glued them together so that I had two instead of one. And I could have used a harder cardboard, but then it's hard to cut with the scissors. So in these shapes, I just kind of drew them out. And if you have a problem with that, there's all different kinds of vintage bulb shapes that you can print off the internet. So but I have covered both the front and the back after I glue them together with this music paper. And now I'm adding an old photograph. I wanted this one to just look very old, and so it may not be for some of you because it is kind of a darker ornament, but this is the look that I wanted for this one. And I'm not using an original picture here. This is a photocopy of a picture. So I'm cutting the excess off, and then I'm going to antique around the edges. So I guess you could buy these shapes in wood if you wanted. I'm just showing actually a way that you can do these and have very little money in them. So we all have food containers that we're going to throw out, so why not turn them into ornaments? And if you want them even thicker, then just glue more than 2 layers together. But here I'm taking my finger sander just to kind of clean up those edges. Now this particular picture is one of my mom and her 2 brothers. They were very, very tight. She also had 2 sisters, but she was the caretaker of the boys especially, and they just were really close. So again, I'm just going around all the edges, front and back, with some antiquing ink. And if you don't have this, most of you regular viewers probably already have it because I use this all the time. But I'm going to include it in the description for those of you who don't. And you can get these little ink blending tools, which make it very easy. Now, once I distressed around the edges, I drilled a hole in the top to add my hanger. But first, I'm going to add some other little embellishments. And I'm going to start with this vintage lace that I'm going to add to the top. And I just hot glue this on. Now, I mentioned in my last video that the first Tuesday in every month, I'm going to start doing a drawing and just do a small giveaway. So if you're interested in being included in that drawing, just comment the word drawing. If you have another comment that you want to add, just comment that separately because I want these entries to be very easy for me to locate. So just comment the word drawing and save the other comments for another comment if you don't mind. But I just really appreciate your support and all your kind words and sending those hang tags and things in. So I just want to give back a little to you guys. And so and I mentioned before in my last video also that I'm going to try to start doing my videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Then you know when to expect them. And it's just easier for me to keep up with. So Tuesdays and Fridays, I'm not sure about the time yet, but I will upload videos on Tuesdays and Fridays and do the giveaway drawing the first Tuesday in every month. And I will do those drawings on video. And what I just did there was add some bronze gilding wax to the top of the ornament. And I just kind of rub that on with my finger. And now I'm adding a shiny top coat over both the front and the back. And I didn't get it filmed, but as you can see here, I have glued some little buttons all across that piece of trim on the top. And then I threaded a piece of lace in the top for the hanger. Now I could do the same on the back, and some of the ornaments that I'm going to do today, I'm going to do the front and back of, but I'm going to leave this one with just the book page on the back. So once I added this little piece of trim here to the top, then this one will be finished. And this one has a little different look than the rest of them that I'm going to be doing, because the rest will be a little bit dressier look than this. This is how it turned out. And now the next one I drew in this shape, and what I did was I traced a circle on the top, and then I added a smaller circle that overlapped, and then I made the little peak on the bottom. And again, I just kind of drew this out, but there are many sources where you can get these shapes if you don't feel comfortable drawing them. Now here's what I'm doing on this is adding some gilding wax. I added some bronze to the top like I did the other one, and now I'm taking it all the way around the edges. So I do that on both sides. And then I decided after I did that to very lightly go across all the front and the back. So I just, with less on my finger, I just kind of rubbed it, and I kept it going in the same direction. But I just very lightly went over it to give it just a hint of that gold all over. And so I did, what I forgot to mention is I started out with the bronze gilding wax on the top, and then I went over it with a little bit of the gold, and then I took a mixture of the two and went around the edges, if that makes sense. And now I'm just using just the straight gold to lightly go over the entire surface. But it's just all a matter of what you prefer. I don't recommend doing the bronze over the entire surface just because it just doesn't blend as well as the gold does. And of course you could just leave it with the music sheet and not add the gold to it. I just kind of wanted to add that look all over it. And now I'm adding some trims to this. And if you've noticed, the cardboard that I used here is a cardboard envelope, mailing envelope that my friend sent me some stuff in. And so on parts of it, it has the seam from the back. And I didn't mind that because it kind of just added another layer. And I don't remember if this one had that on it or not, but when I see one that does, I'll mention it. But it just kind of adds a layer. Just make sure that if you're using something like that, that you have that line going across and you kind of strategically place it where it will work as to add your trim piece. So now I'm just adding some layers of vintage lace. And I've been very blessed that many of my friends have given me vintage lace. And when I first started, I was very careful with what I used lace on because I was low on it. But I've just had so many generous people give me lace, and I like to do projects like this where I don't have to use a whole lot of it, but I have lots of choices, and I just love vintage lace. And now I'm adding these little beads, and I'm not even sure where I got these beads, but as you guys know, you can get them in the ribbon section just about anywhere. So now I'm adding trim to the back also. And as you can see, here was one of those places that had that fold there at the top. So I put this trim just underneath that fold. Now always when I'm gluing my lace down that I've cut, I make sure to secure those edges with glue right up to the very edge of it, because what that will do is just keep it from unraveling, because anytime you cut lace ribbon, obviously it's going to unravel very easily. So now I've added that to both sides, and I'm just going to kind of keep adding trim until I get the look that I want. And this is where you can just play and have fun with these, because it's kind of hard to go wrong. And when you're doing these, what I call Victorian style ornaments, it's kind of hard to overdo them. And the more that you add to them, obviously it just makes them more sturdy. And I'm going to be adding some vintage jewelry to many of these. I was gifted some by my friend Debbie. She gave me a bunch of broken jewelry that she had, and this was one of the pieces. And it's going to be perfect to put on these. Now with this one, I put some lace underneath. I just cut a little circle of lace out. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now this is a little, I think this was an earring that was broken, and I'm just going to glue that over the top. And then this one was finished. And then here is another one that I did, and for most of these, I use this bronze gilding wax at the top. A lot of times I use my fingers, but when I'm doing it in an area like this that's very small, then the brush is necessary. And I'm just using a regular paintbrush here. And now this is a mold that my friend Myra sent me, and I don't have this particular mold, and can't really find it in anywhere. I'm going to order it when I do. But I just love this one. And she sent me a bunch of pre-made molds that she made from resin, and this was one of those. And so I just painted this with the gold gilding wax, and then with the bronze, and then I just went over the top of it with the gold so that all that detail would show, because I kind of lost the detail with the bronze. And there again, I'm adding it around the edges. Then I decided to use this stencil that I have, and I'm going to try to find this one and link it in the description. It comes with several of these different patterns that you can do, and I'm using just a regular paintbrush here and not putting a whole lot of gilding on my brush and making a gold pattern in the background, and I do that on both sides. Now, I only started using gilding wax a couple of years ago and wasn't sure if I would like it, but I'm kind of addicted to it. I love how it turns out, and I've had the same little tiny bottle of gilding wax since I started and still haven't finished using it. So this goes a very, very long way. So I just added some lace underneath it and then glued that little mold to the front. And then I decided that I needed to lighten up that mold, so I just took some white wax and went over it with a little brush and then wiped the excess off, because I felt like I needed to add that white into the mold so it wasn't such a stark contrast to the ornament. So that was my next ornament. And then for the next one, this is the shape that I used for that. And I'm going over this with antiquing ink around the edges. Now, sometimes I did that on these ornaments and ended up going over it with the gilding wax anyway. But at this point, I was just planning on doing the Van Dyke brown glaze on my molds. Again, I haven't painted these molds. I'm just adding that glaze to the resin, and then just wiping off the excess. And again, using that gilding wax on the top. Now I've already been getting several entries for the drawing that I'm going to be doing the first Tuesday of the month. So we're just writing those. Actually, your YouTube name is what I'm having to write down because I don't have your actual name. So when we call out the winner, it will be, we'll just have to say what the YouTube name is. And then you can send me your, you can email me your address so that I can send what you won. So I just added some lace on the bottom of this one and took the hot glue and kind of folded the ends of the lace where I cut it back toward each other so that I didn't have to use a mold there. But I had a lot of fun with these ornaments because you can just kind of do whatever look you want. I know that most of these ended up looking more Victorian style, but you could definitely give them a different look than what I'm doing here. And here I added a bow-shaped brooch to the bottom. And now for this next one, I'm going to cover it with scrapbook paper. And it's one of the little double circle ones. And I'm cleaning up those edges after I covered it and let it dry. Always let it dry well before you try to do that because it only works well when your paper is good and dry. So now I'm doing some shading around the edges in between the two circles. That ended up being pointless because I do go around all the edges with the gilding wax as well. So I'm taking a little extra time on these because I'm creating them as I go. And so once you get used to making these, I'm sure that you'll have some certain styles that you do and you won't be wasting a lot of time like I am. This time of year when we're ordering a lot online, you can save your boxes and maybe not have to layer these like I did to make them stronger. Again, you don't want to use cardboard that's too stiff. And after I layered this lace on, then I'm going to go around all the edges with the gilding wax. And I started with the bronze, and then I kind of highlighted it with the gold. And I do that often because the bronze gives it that deeper, richer look. But then you don't have as much of the shimmer that you get from the gold. So here I am going around, and I'm even doing the edge of these of the lace. And it takes a little bit more to get that to work well, but it does. So my plan in the beginning wasn't to do that at all, but then I decided it needed those edges darkened also. And I'm taking my finger and just kind of blending because I want to create some shading even with that gilding wax. So now I'm gluing a brooch in the center of this one, and here I'm highlighting the top with that gold also. I added just a little piece of broken jewelry to the bottom of that one. And all of these I've added hangers to them, and this one I just took some little beads, some little bead ribbon, and made the hanger with that. Now the next one that I'm doing, I'm going to add trim all the way around the edges of it because I covered it with fabric, and I didn't get that on film, but I just took a thin cotton fabric with just a little bit of a print on it and covered both the front and the back of the ornament. And now I'm taking this stained doily that I have and cutting the trim off the edges of it, and then I took that around the edges, front and back. So what I should have done was added my lace to the center part of it, to this lace that I'm doing here. I should have added that first before I went around the edges, but because this is thin enough, I was able to cut back in there and just kind of stuff it a little bit underneath that trim. And I did that both on the front and the back. And now I'm going to add some broken earrings to this one. So I'm adding one here to the bottom, and then the other one, one of them actually wasn't broken, but I'm going to add the one that was broken around the neck at the top. And I just had to cut a little bit more off of it, and then I'll just kind of place that around the neck of the front, or top rather. I'm just hot gluing these on, because if I was trying to hot glue them onto the hard surface itself, the wood, I would need to use a different type of glue along with my hot glue, because it wouldn't hold long term. But because there's so much cloth on here, when I'm gluing to the cloth, I'm pretty sure it's going to hold well. And here again, I'm having to work around where I've already added the trim around the edges. Again, I'm giving these a very Victorian look. So if this is not your taste, then just maybe use a plaid, either plaid cloth on the back, or a plaid scrapbook paper, or just any print that has more of a or less of a dressy look. And now I'm just kind of playing around and seeing what's going to work. I decided on this little cameo, but I need to paint it with the gilding wax. So I'm doing the same thing on this. I'm using the bronze first, and then just kind of rubbing the gold over the top. Now, a lot of these molds that I'm using, I'll attach in the description if I can find them. The one with the nativity, I've just looked everywhere and haven't been able to find that. I want to order it myself, but I just haven't been able to find it in. So I don't know if it's discontinued. I don't know why they would discontinue that, but if either of you know where to get that, please let me know, because I would love to order it. Now here I'm taking some of the gilding wax and going around the edges, because I added all that deeper, richer bronze on the inside of it, so I felt like it needed to be brought to the outside. Again, it worked fine on the cloth trim. I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving this week. I can't believe it's already here. This year has just flown by. But I know some of you are going through some trials, and I just want you to know that I'm praying for you. I know that the holidays are extra hard when you're going through things, and I just want you to know you're on my mind and in my prayers. Now this next one I'm going to cover with a fabric called Warm and Natural, and that's actually a quilt batting, and this is a thinner quilt batting. I usually use the Warm and Natural, which is a little bit thicker than this, but this is a similar one, and I'm covering both sides with this, and this has already been coffee stained. I just dip the fabric in coffee and wring it out and let it dry. So I'm just covering both sides and trimming away all the excess, and now I'm covering it with some lace. And because the lace is sheer, I am able to lay my other trim down over it and see what it's going to look like before I glue it in place. And then I can just trim it all away at the same time. So I'm just making sure here to get my glue right on the edge of the fabric to neaten that up more. And the trim pieces that I'm using on this one is also the resin that I've made up ahead, or my friend has sent to me already made up ahead. And I'm using the Van Dyke brown glaze on it also, and then I'll just kind of glue that on. Again, I didn't paint the resin first on these. I just used the Van Dyke brown glaze. Now, some of these I am dressing up the other side, and some of them I'm just maybe using the fabric on the back, but not adding the trim pieces. So all the backs will be finished, but not all the backs will be decorated. Now this next one, I thought I would try something a little bit different, and I'm covering it with cloth first, only because I really hadn't planned at this point to do what I decided to do. But I'm covering both sides with the lace here, which didn't need to happen because what I end up doing is trimming out around all the edges, and then I'm going to be adding buttons to this. So I put my trim pieces on. These are some that my friend Myra sent me. And then I took some beaded ribbon and put, or beaded trim, and went around all the edges because I wanted to build the edges up so that I could put some glue really thick on the inside of it. So I took this is fabric glue here that dries clear, and I just really loaded it in there because I'm going to glue a bunch of buttons inside. So I'm kind of picking through these because I want all these buttons to have more of an opalescent look to them. So I'm just kind of piecing them wherever I can fit them, and I'm getting as much space filled in as possible. And then with what's left over, I just took some little tiny pearl beads and filled in. And I went over the trim that I put on it, or the molds that I put on it, with the gilding. I just put some gilding wax in the gold on my finger and just kind of rubbed it over them. And now I have some hang tags to show from a viewer. Lucy from Arizona sent these, and I think they're so pretty. They have cloth in the background, and she even put the cloth on the back of them. And look at all this beautiful lace and detail on these. I love them. And this is one of those little rose molds here on the top of this little star. These colors are just so soft and beautiful. I just love these hang tags. You guys just amaze me with all your talent, and I'm so grateful for you guys sending these in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.